Isn't that lovely? Just gonna turn that down now. So how y'all doing? I was gonna do a Wattpad Wednesday last week, but I was just exhausted. I don't remember why. I just remember being very, very tired. And I just did not have the energy to actually go through it. Turn this off. How's everybody doing? It's Vince Solsungen again. And we are going to be reading the classic stories of Squidward, Suicide, and Smile Dog. Before we begin, though, I want to kind of, address a little bit of a controversy, a very well-known controversy at this point. It's only been up for a few hours, but I think people know me well enough and are familiar with my line of work enough to have raised a stink about it. I haven't been messaged about it. I'm assuming that my fans are just, my legions of fans are just so taken aback by the travesty that has been committed against me that they're hard pressed to find something to say, like it's like when you have to deliver bad news to a friend. Like you don't know how to go about addressing it. You want to do it as gingerly as possible. But I'm a man. I'm an OG. I'm from the streets. I'm from the hood. I I watch Straight Outta Compton. I know what I'm talking about. I'm from that life. So, okay, long story short, out of nowhere, Bad Creepypasta Crew, they put out you can see my little likes there. I only did that so I could keep track of it on my automatic playlist, so don't think I like this video, jerk-offs. Yeah, the Bad Creepypasta Crew put out a new video, a classic, old-school Bad Creepypasta type video about Jane the Killer. Now, people know, because I've been a staple of Bad Creepypasta for a long time now, since the channel's very inception. They kind of whitewashed my initial presence. They kind of edited out my voice. They can't prove that that's not true, by the way. And I think people trust me enough to know when I'm telling the truth. So, I ignored that because I'm gracious and kind and considerate, and I considered them my friends. But then Jacob committed a grave atrocity. You see right here, someone said that Jane's voice is something I haven't heard in a long time. And then you see my reply. I'm upset. I'm pissed off. Because not once did Jacob Sherwood or anyone in the Bad Creepypasta Crew think to approach me to give my award-winning classic Jane the Killer voice, which I came up with, was all me, and is completely of my machination, and I am very, very nettled right now. I've been wronged. I have been wronged to such a degree by people I considered my friends. Now, look, again, I'm a very gracious individual. I'm very gracious, and I understand. I'm not saying that I'm not asking for anything really, because I understand the videos are already done. I'm assuming they're already done. Part 1's out. Part 2's probably be editing right now. They can't all of a sudden just add me and on. Although, here's my proposal to Jacob Sherwood. If you're watching this, and you should be watching this because, again, I think it's only right that you try to make amends. So I want you to focus in on what I'm telling you right now. I will forgive you for this grievous sin that you've committed against me, this slight, if you promise to have me call you up. And any line that has the big Jane Lewowski voice, I redub everything and then you edit it back into the video and then put it back out. I don't care if you lose views. I don't care if okay, it might hurt your optics a little bit, and that stinks, but I like to believe that you're a man of principle. So if you're willing to do this for me, Jacob, I might consider maybe, I might forgive you. I mean, that's only part 1 of many things you'll need to do to get back in my good graces. Because never forget, again, I have proof. Look at this. 2014, right here. I've been here since the very beginning. That's not the first bad creepypasta video, but it's really old. It's really old. So that means that I've been here since day one. And they owe it to me. I was part of the crew. Bad creepypasta would be nowhere without me. I was the one that told them about the story. I was the one that pointed out the fucking author's weird fucking Nazi fetishes bullshit, as you can see right here. That was me. So, make amends, Jacob. You're a man. Be a man. Don't be scared. Don't be scared, boy. Hey, you did me wrong. You did me dirty. How you doing, Color Monster? That was a Koi Monster Chaos. That's a pretty nifty name. So, I will not... I'm not going to take this sitting down. Some things are a matter of principle. Alright? So again, Jacob, do the right thing, homie. Release the Vince cut. Or let's do the Vince cut. Do like Snyder does and you know, fucking cut, like, re-edit things, scenes that were his original movie and pretend like that, oh, those were in the Joss Whedon cut, the things that you didn't like. Again, that's allegedly. That's what I've heard. I'm not gonna act like that's definitive, but you know, enough. You know, I gotta move on. Again, I'm a grown ass man. I'm an adult. We're all adults here. Oh yeah, I heard that DMX almost died. That would be very upsetting to hear. I'll be very upset if we lose DMX. It's not even like he's like a big deal to me, but I don't know. I love that man. With every tired muscle in my body. Before we begin, I need to get some tunes here. Caretaker songs, but I don't want to play the... I don't want to play the one that makes everyone depressed. Although it kind of fits, it'll be a, you know, Squidward suicide. So yeah, let's just stop being around the bush. And we're going to actually get around to this. This is Squidward suicide. There's no credit here. It's kind of weird. Like, half of these stories, I kind of wish that they would, like, put something out there just so I can see what the author afterwards put out after. Like, I had to really dig to find out that the guy who wrote NES Godzilla also wrote normal porn from normalpeople.com, you know? It's kind of annoying. But then again, I don't think people kind of have the foresight to... When they just, like, write something out in, like, a busy afternoon or a lazy afternoon and they put it up on a website, like, you know, look what I did in a few minutes. And I can understand, like, not having the wherewithal to credit yourself because it's like, oh, this funny little story I made. So yeah, this is Squidward suicide, and as you guys noticed, MD Phantasm and Fish Stick on a Stick are not here today, and I'm as much as I like having those guys around, I know they'll probably get tired of constantly having me badger them like, hey guys, you want to jump in and do a recording of me? So I'm gonna give them a break this week. I'll see if they'll want to come on next week, forcibly. The gratuitous violence. Not trying to be mean, and it's tragic but unexpected. Oh yeah, I think that's fair to say. It's like when Amy Winehouse OD'd. It's like, yeah. I mean, it's sad that she's dead, and it's sad that she died, and it's sad that what she went through, but her ODing is kind of expected, or was the expected outcome. I can't say that because I felt that way, and I hate saying it, but it's just how I felt about Jake the Snake Roberts. I was expecting him to just, like, drop dead. I expected him to be dead 20 years ago. Not even, not 20 years ago, but, like, maybe, I'd say maybe 10 years ago when I used to read up on him. I expected him to be long gone. And then he did a 180 and turned his life around and got himself looking good, and he, you know, it's wonderful. So some people defy the odds. And DMX, from what I understand, I think he was trying to pick his life up, and he had, like, gotten, I think he, like, became a pastor. So what funny squid story? Wait, what are we talking about? Yeah, talking about DMX ODing and almost dying. I just want to start off. Let's get right into this. I've been belaboring this uh, too long. I just want to start off by saying that if you want an answer at the end, prepare to be disappointed. There just isn't one. I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for a year in 2005 for my degree in animation. It wasn't paid, of course, but most interns aren't. Well, most internships aren't. But it did have some perks beyond education. To adults, it might not seem like a big one, but most kids at the time would shit themselves over it. I want to point out right now, like when Juice WRLD died, he was always rapping about dying of Percocet overdose. I want to point out right now that certain details have been covered. Like I think Phalos has had a series called Old Man Reads Creepypasta where he reads the story and critiques it in the character that he kind of came up with from one of the film reviews he made, and he did a thorough dissection of it. The voice can get kind of grating sometimes, but I would actually point to that particular video as the best critiquing of the story and also breaking down certain details of the behind the scenes at the time of the certain claims that are made within the story regarding the time period and the mindset of the creative team behind SpongeBob. I'm not gonna bring it up here because I'm not entirely. I don't know. I don't know how much of that information I kind of retained, and to be honest, I'm not entirely all that interested when it comes to those things. I'm trying to break this down in regards to how the story stands on its own. Now, granted, I think you can make a fair case that that's part of the story's appeal, is that it kind of goes into those things for people who don't understand the behind the scenes of how these cartoons are developed. But I'm just going to try to ignore that. I don't think I can really speak on it because I'm not well versed enough in the development process of the show and what happened at the time. The character was an old man father from. Yeah, I remember I subscribed to him. I remember it. Like that became a really popular character within his little thing. That's the thing about Fail is like I think Fails to me is at his best when he's incredibly informative when it comes to like certain details of like the behind the scenes of like he actually does a surprising amount of research and digs into certain facts I wouldn't have thought to actually look into myself. His comedy for me is kind of hit and miss. I think he's entertaining enough to kind of keep his channel afloat. Like I think he's more than earned his decent subscriber base. I say decent, and I only have one of my sitting at like 520 or something like that. And you did good, Fails, with your I guess 100,000 subscribers is admirable at best. Okay. Now, since I work directly with the editors and animators, I got to view the new episodes days before they aired. I'll get right into it without leaving too many unnecessary details. They very recently made the SpongeBob movie, and the entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity, so it took them longer to start up the season. But the delay lasted longer for more unsettling reasons. There was a problem with the Series 4 premiere that set everyone and everything back for several months. Me and two other interns were in the editing room, along with the lead animators and sound editors for the final cut. We received a copy of what was supposed to be Fear of a Krabby Patty and gathered around the screen to watch. Now, given that it isn't final yet, animators often put up mock title card, was sort of inside joke for us with phony, oftentimes lewd titles. Oh, excuse me. Such as How Sex Doesn't Work instead of Rockabye Bye Valve when SpongeBob and Patrick adopt a sea scallop. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know if you really need to specify the plot of that episode. I mean, I suppose. Oh no, it doesn't really matter because I don't know. How you doing, Arthur? Fine. I hope you're having a good time. The stream just started. You haven't missed anything. Nothing particularly funny, but work-related chuckles. So when we saw the title card Squidward Suicide, we didn't think it more than you didn't think it more than a morbid joke. One of the interns did a small throat laugh at it. The happy-go-lucky music plays as normal. Why don't that start off the new paragraph? Like, shouldn't it be like this part right here? Shouldn't this be like right here? And then the new paragraph talks about the thing in question. I'm gonna point out that even though the story is trash, sitting in after season 4 is a smart move because it makes sense that Nickelodeon would be in disarray. From what I understand, I always thought Smile Dog was as dumb. I always thought that Smile Dog was dumb as a kid, and I was afraid of Suicide Mouse. Yeah, but as again, I would point to failures. I think the claim that like the staff was sapped the creativity of the movie apparently isn't true. I don't remember exactly how he broke it down. Again, if you want the thorough breakdown of the logistics of the story itself, I think Fails is the best person to go to. Let's see. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside. Oh, sorry. The story began with Squidward practicing his clarinet, hitting a few sour notes like normal. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside, and Squidward stops, yelling at him to keep it down, as he had a concert that night and needed to practice. SpongeBob says okay, and goes to see Sandy with Patrick. The bubble splash screen comes up, and we see the ending of Squidward's concert. This is where things begin to seem off. While playing, a few frames repeat themselves, but the sound doesn't. At this point, the sound is synced up with the animation, so yes, it's not common. When he stops playing, the sound finishes as if the skip never happened. That's when the slight murmuring in the crowd before they begin to boo him. Wait, there's a slight murmuring in the crowd. Not a normal cartoon booing that is common in the show, but you could very clearly hear malice of it. You know, unlike the kind of happy-go-lucky booing, non-contemptuous bullying, where people are like, we're just ragging on you. It's just, we're just riffing him a bit. We didn't like it, but we're not trying to hurt his feelings or whatever. Squidward's in full frame and looks visibly afraid. The shot goes to the crowd with SpongeBob in center frame, and he too was booing, very much unlike him. That isn't the oddest thing. What is odd is that everyone had hyper-realistic eyes. There it is. Yeah, here we are. I was going to start this off by opening this up. I'm going to assume this is in the version of the Red Mist, where the male guy, Squidward... Well, the male guy tells him that... what is that about? Because I've heard about this Red Mist thing involving Squidward's suicide, and I don't know what that's in relation to. Like, can you actually explain it to me? I'm so baffled at Nickelodeon references. Yeah. And so Squidward lagged and people weren't happy. Well, I mean, you play fighting games online. You know how it is when some motherfucker decides to lag switch. Like, yeah, if I was a crowd, I'd call bullshit too. And first sip, and I immediately spilled it on my hoodie. Great. Great. Yes, I am indeed wearing a hoodie inside the house, because I'm that kind of trash. I don't think you should read Luigi is Dead there. You probably have lots of mixed thoughts on that one. Maybe. Where were we? That wasn't the oddest thing, though. What was odd is that everyone had hyper-realistic eyes. Very detailed. Clearly not shots of the real people's eyes, but something more real than CGI. So, I guess, like... I don't know. Well, I think who was it that I think it was wasn't it the teacher that they brought on to the episode about creepypasta when they covered this? That said the term should be photorealistic. The peoples were oh yeah, I just like it just occurred to me. Yeah, fucking Nickelodeon did reference this story. I guess because it's relatively popular, and I don't know, Nickelodeon or the new seasons of SpongeBob have been kind of like heavy when it comes to like certain odd, I guess you can call them inside jokes. The pupils were red. Some of us looked at each other, obviously confused. But since we weren't the writers, we didn't question its appeal to children yet. The shot goes to Squidward, sitting on the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. The view out of his porthole window is of the night sky, so it isn't very long after the concert. The unsettling part is that at this point there is no sound. Literally no sound. Not even the feedback from the speakers in the room, as if the speakers were turned off, though their status showed them to be working perfectly. Okay, that's something I kind of take issue with, and it's going to come up at some point, because there are certain details about the story that I do recall, despite not having heard it or read it in some time, but it kind of flexes between, like, I guess you could call like something paranormal and something that's actually grounded in some sense of reality. Like, there's no feedback coming from the speakers. Like, somehow I guess we can spoil a little bit, the perpetrator of this incident, like, when he was making his snuff film, magically knew how to completely nullify all sound that could be coming from his little project. It's annoying. Also, what would have been creepier was if the sort of suicide video were actually human eyes and small white eyes with bright white pupils by black. Surrounded by black. Yeah, it should at least be projecting some white noise or something like that. He just sat there, blinking, and in this silence for about 30 seconds, when he started to sob loudly, he put his hands, tentacles, over his eyes and cried quietly for a full minute more. Oh, I'm glad we have our narrator here to thoroughly break down the time in which all these events are taking place. Like, I'm just imagining he's watching this snuff film, like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. All the while, the sound in the background was slowly growing from nothing to barely audible. It sounded like a light breeze through a forest. A screen slowly begins to zoom into his face. By slow, I mean it's only noticeable if you look at the shots 10 seconds apart side by side. So wait, so you didn't do that, so how did you know? The sobbing gets louder, more full of hurt and anger. The screen then twitches a bit, and twitches in on itself for a split second, then back to normal. The wind through the trees sound gets more louder. Gets slowly. No, the wind through the trees sound gets slowly louder and more severe. Slowly louder sounds weird, as if a storm is brewing somewhere. The eerie part is that this sound and Squidward's sobbing sounded real, as if the sound wasn't coming from the speakers, but if the speakers were holes and the sound was coming through the other side, again with that stupid, weird, pseudo-supernatural bullshit. I like the one thing I always thought that when I initially heard the story that was in the positive for it was the kind of grounded tone. Like, it's a real threat in a sense that it's nothing like otherworldly or over the top, and it's someone who put out his snuff film and mixed it with edited it into a children's cartoon. That even conceptually, that's genuinely horrifying. What was that? Oh god, it sounds true in some weird mouthful, pirate painting or something like. Oh yeah, I think that was Flapjack did that. Yeah. As good as the studio, as good as sound as the studio, as good as sound as the studio likes to have. They don't purchase the equipment to be that good to produce sound of that quality. Do you have any idea how much money Nickelodeon has and had during the time of like season 4 of SpongeBob? I'm pretty sure that they could afford top of the line equipment. Below the sound of the wind, below the sound of the wind and sobbing, very faint, something sounded like laughing. It comes at all intervals and never lasted more than a second, so you had a hard time pinning it. We watched the show twice, so pardon me if things sound too specific, but I've had time to think about them. After 30 seconds of this, The screen blurred and twitched violently, and something flashed over the screen as if a single frame was replaced. The animator paused and rewound frame by frame. What he saw was horrible. It was a still photo of a dead child. He couldn't have been more than 6. The face was mangled and bloodied. One eye dangling over his upturned face popped. Okay. He was naked down to his underwear, his stomach cruelly cut open, his entrails laying beside him. He was laying on the pavement that was probably a road. I don't know what the big deal is. It's just a fucking... This is Cuties as developed by Snuffbomb. A collaborative effort between him and JC Hyena. It still doesn't make sense why anyone would want to edit stuff into a children's film. Yeah, I'd argue that it doesn't necessarily even need to make sense, to be honest. Like, it's someone who's obviously deranged. Like, I don't like the fact that you don't know who it was, or maybe it's someone who worked for the studio that just slipped it in there as some kind of twisted joke, and it kind of goes unnoticed. Like, that's the scary part to me. Movie Bob must love this. Yes. You're too busy sending passive-aggressive tweets about, like, look, Anita Sarkeesian told me that I'm a big stinky idiot who needs to leave her the fuck alone. Not Anita Sarkeesian, Lizzie Ellis. But I guess my problem is that I just care too much. I was too friendly. I was too nice. Movie Bob is such a nice guy, isn't he? The most upsetting part was that there was a shadow of the photographer. Yeah, that's the most upsetting part. Like, there's a fucking dead child on screen, but someone took a picture of it, and they actually had the nerve to have their shadow be in frame. Look, well, then again, he's an intern and he's working in the editing department, I guess, so shot composition is very important to our narrator. And he's very triggered to see the fucking such poor, so poor photography skills on display. You want to put snuff out there? You want to put dead bodies out there? Be my guest. We are not gonna have these low standards at Nickelodeon, mister. We ain't having it. Look, Dan Schneider handpicked me to be behind the scenes and make sure all this shit goes right. There was no crime tape, no evidence tags or markers, and the angle was completely off for a shot designed to be evidence. How would you know that? Like, how many forensic photos have you seen that you have a frame of reference as to how they're supposed to be shot? Honestly, the episode of Squidward killing himself could be an episode. Teen Titans was a show that they had robbing a PST and thinking about Slate hurting him. Then again, that was just drawings and not real life children. True. I don't think that's comparable because Teen Titans was an entirely different tone and show and whatnot. And Squidward, yeah, even in the worst seasons of SpongeBob, they kind of flirted with crossing the line. They didn't like outright jump over it. Like there was a lot of, I guess you could argue the fucking toenail scene from that house episode was like one of the moments where they went too far. The SpongeBob episode where they make a weird suicide. Yeah, they made one. It was like it was a joke it was one of those moments where I think they were trying to go for like one of those old school type jokes where as an adult you get it, but as a kid you don't grasp it. Like, some kind of like what you see in like old episodes of Animaniacs and I get Rugrats, especially fucking Rugrats, the amount of adult humor in there that you don't get as a kid. But it kind of fell flat and it was kind of tasteless because it was too overt. Like, the episode was about Squidward being depressed, and then he hangs a fucking rope up, and he's talking about how he can't be happy, and he's like, this will help, as he put the rope up, and it's like, I think even most kids could glean the meaning behind that. I'm not someone that's like upset about that, by the way. Like, if you're gonna have fucked up humor like that, again, make it subtle enough to where kids won't notice it until they get older. Like fucking again, Rugrats reference to Grandpa comes home like I just got through playing Russian roulette with the boys, and someone said, Stu says, "Did you win?" And yeah, I don't think you know what Russian roulette is. Okay, let's see. It was seen that the photographer was the person responsible for the child's death. We were mortified, but pressed on, hoping that it was just a sick joke. Pressed on, you brave fucking soldier. I, I mean, you could just call the police and have them search the premises for the potential killer that just snuck a fucking stuff tape into your possession. You don't have to watch it. Like, why would you feel the need to watch it? Like, it would make sense if this was some kind of like if he was in a position where an investigation was necessary on his part, but it's not. It doesn't help that the main character is also again he kind of doesn't have much in the way of personality, so we don't really know if it's within his character to kind of sit and stomach this. The screen flipped back to Squidward, still sobbing louder than before, and half body in frame. There was now what appeared to be blood running down his face from his eyes. The blood was also done in a hyper-realistic style, as if you touched it, looking as if you touched it. No, even then that didn't sound right. Even looking as if you touched it, you'd get blood on your fingers. The wind. How did this? Okay, how did Mister Happy Child Killer guy, number one SpongeBob fan, SpongeBob fan 69 on I guess Reddit. How did he fucking manage to do this? And I'm not talking about the breaking into Nickelodeon Studios, posing as a staff member and putting my snuff film in there. I'm talking about like how did he get such high quality like images here? Again, I think it's one of those moments where it's supposed to be like hinting at something supernatural, but I don't know. I honestly don't think even the narrator or the writer of the story put too much thought into it. Let's see, the wind sounded now as if it was a gale blowing through the forest. There were even snapping sounds of branches, the laughing, a deep baritone, lasting at longer intervals and coming more frequently. After about 20 seconds, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, the screen twisted and showed a single frame photo. The editor was reluctant to go back. We all were, but we knew he had to. Why? Again, like, there's nothing to really justify the need to do this. Like, I to justify the need to, like, there's nothing to really explain it. Like, I get... Just call the police. At this point, you would just call the police. Why would that not be the first thing you think to do? This time, the photo was that of what appeared to be a little girl, no older than the first child. She was laying on her stomach, her barrettes in a pool of blood next to her. Her left eye was popped out, naked except for underpants. Her entrails were piled on top of her, another crew cut along her back. Again, the body was out in the street, and the photographer's photo was visible, very similar size and shape to the first. I had to choke back vomit, and one entered. The only female in the room ran out. Oh, fucking women, am I right? You see one dismembered and mutilated child on screen, and all of a sudden, oh, they can't take it. See, this is why you don't do so well in STEM. Is because when the professor puts his murder victims on the slab in science class, all of a sudden you raise a stink about it. You go to the board of education, and then you get the guy fired. This is, I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? I like it. It's like how horror characters make stupid choices to artificially extend the plot and add more senseless violence, pretty much. So because the first few paragraphs, no human could edit the photos in, but the story does a shoddy job of implying it. I don't even like the implication, to be honest. Like, the thing I like about this story, initially, when I initially read it, was the fact that it was something that I could see tangibly happening. And I don't mean like the weird supernatural shit or someone managing to like sneak in and put it. I'm talking about like imagine a real life scenario, like you go into a video, like I don't know, Blockbuster, you get something like a tape, for your kids to look at to watch when you're babysitting or some shit. You put the tape in. It's supposed to be, I don't know, Yo Gabba Gabba or some shit like that. Yo Gabba Gabba existed what ZHS was, by the way. It did. I can prove it, but I don't feel like it. And all of a sudden, it goes into a snuff film. Like I know shit like that happens. Like not from personal experience, like to that extent, but I've had instances where we thought we had a tape of like something, and then it was like something a little bit more. I get something that's not not like porn, but like someone had taped over like horror films, and it accidentally sent in was supposed to be like children's entertainment. So that's what made me initially interested and really like the story, but going back and reading it and seeing these things that really kind of get in the way with it, like this implied supernatural nonsense, it is not. It doesn't fit. It really doesn't fit with that kind of grounded tone that it initially sets up. About 5 seconds after the second photo played, Squidward went silent, as it all sounded like it was when the scene started. He put his tentacles down. His eyes were now done in hyperrealism, like the others were in the beginning of the show. They were bleeding, bloodshot, and pulsating. He just stared at the camera screen, as if watching the viewer. Okay, hold on. I feel the need to bring this up. Because I work hard on my thumbnails. You guys know that. You guys know that I work very hard on these thumbnails. And I want to share you all the work I do. Okay, that doesn't look good. Hold on. I worked hard to do these edit jobs. See? Hold on. See? Look how hard I did that. Look how hard I did that. Look how great that looks. Isn't it awesome? Okay, now imagine Squidward right there. That's the Squidward we're imagining, like eyes pulsating and whatnot. And, shock horror. Be horrified. And also, give me an epic thumbs up for this awesome artwork that I put out. That I totally did in, it took me months to do and not a lazy afternoon when I realized, like, oh, I said I was going to do Squidward Suicide. Maybe I should make a thumbnail. And Smile Dog. I almost forgot I'm going to be covering that next. Okay, where were we? Bleeding blood. After about 10 seconds, he started sobbing, this time not covering his eyes. The sound was piercing and loud, and the most fear-inducing of all was the sobbing was mixed with screams. Tears and blood were dripping down his face at a heavy rate. The wind sound came back, and so did the deep voice laughing. And this time, the still photo lasted for a good 10 frames. The animator was able to stop it on the 4th and backed up. This time, the photo was of a boy, about the same age. But this time, the scene was different. The entrails were just being pulled out of the stomach by a large hand. The right eye popped and dangling, blood trickled down it. The animator proceeded. It was hard to believe, but the next one was different, but we just couldn't tell what. He went on to the next, and the next thing, he went back to the first, and played them quicker, and I lost it. I vomited on the floor, and the animating and sound editors gasping at the screen. The 5 frames were not the 5 frames were not as if they were 5 different photos. They were played. I don't know what that even what's that supposed to mean? The 5 frames were not as if they were 5 photos. 5 different photos. That means literally nothing. They were played out as if the frames of a video. We saw the hands slowly lift out the guts. We saw the child's eyes focusing on it, and even saw the 2 frames of the kid beginning to blink. Like, why would you feel the need to run it back and like animate it? Like one of the editors, like, hey, we need to make a GIF for the police so they know that this guy means business. This is just silly. The lead sound editor told us to stop. He had to call the creator to see this. Mr. Hillenberg arrived in within 15 minutes. R.I.P. Stephen Hillenberg. And by the way, I would like to extend a big, passionate fuck you to Nickelodeon for shitting over Mr. Hillenberg's vision by going against his direct orders to never make a spinoff of SpongeBob. Seriously, thank you so much. And people wonder why I'm so adamant about creators' rights when it comes to owning their own fucking LPs. If you can take that shit, unless you have someone that really for a fact really cares about your vision and will handle it well, take that shit with you to the grave. My film professor once said that film is just a bunch of photos moving really fast. Was your film professor like? Did he like actually see your feet? Was it Tarantino? The animator was able to stop. Okay, where were we? Called Stephen Hillenberg about 15 minutes. Within about 15 minutes, he was confused as to why he was called down there. So the editor continued the episode. Once a few frames were found, all the screaming and sound again stopped. Squidward was just staring at the viewer. Full frame to once again, the few frames were shown, all screaming and sound stopped. Squidward was just staring at the viewer. Full frame of the face for about 3 seconds. 1, Mississippi 2, Mississippi 3, Mississippi 4, Mississippi. The shot quickly panned out, and that deep voice said, "Do it." And we see in Squidward's hands a shotgun. He doesn't have fingers. How is he going to pull the trigger? He immediately puts the gun to his mouth and pulls the trigger. Realistic blood and brain matter splatters the walls around him. And in his bed, he flies back with the force. Flies back with the force. So it's like fucking goddamn it, Last Jedi, where fucking Layla zipping through space like fucking Superman. A twist ending Dak Steiner was behind that episode. Realistic blood and brain matter. The last 5 seconds of the episode show his body on the bed, on his side, one eye dangling on what's left of his head above the floor, staring blankly at it, and then the episode ends. Mr. Hillenberg is obviously angry at this. He wants demanding to know what the hell was going on. Like, I think that's an actual edit, because I remember everyone commented, he used to say heck. What the heck was going on? And I don't know at what point someone went back and revised it and like did that one perfect correction. Like the one thing that they corrected, everything else is just peachy keen, fine and dandy. Most people left the room at this point, so it was just a handful of us to watch it. Why? You watch it 3 times? What the fuck? I'm sorry, I think this is the second. But still, why watch it twice? Viewing the episode twice only served to imprint the entirety of it in my mind and caused me to have horrible nightmares. I'm sorry I stayed. The only theory we can think of was that the file was edited by someone in a chain from the drawing studio to here. The CTO was called in to analyze what happened. The analysis of the file showed that it was edited over by new material. However, the timestamp of it was a mere 24 seconds before we began viewing it. All equipment involved was examined for foreign software and the hardware as well as physical glitches. If the timestamp, they may have glitched and showed the wrong time, but everything checked out fine. We don't know what happened, and to this day, nobody does. There was an investigation due to the nature of the videos, but nothing came out of it. No child was identified, and no clues were gathered from the data involved, nor physical clues in the photos. I never believed in unexplained phenomena before, but now that I have something that happened to me that I can't prove anything beyond anecdotal evidence, I think twice about things. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't. the moments that didn't involve the gratuitous violence, not in fact, I'm gonna say something controversial in regards to, I guess controversial against the grain. I think is a more appropriate term. Although I guess my view can be considered controversial. I don't think the story is as quite as terrible as people make it out to be. Like even among my peer group, the moments where it's again grounded in some form of tangible reality of them like rolling through like the parts that really hurt the story are just a generic stupid, oh my god, Squidward is depressed and is about to hollow his head out with a 12 gauge. Like that shit is just it's in and of itself just too funny to visualize. That takes you out of the story. You take that out of the story and have it just be like a seemingly normal episode with snuffs like put into it, and then you have something that's actually potentially horrifying. You would have to expand upon it again, of course. Like it can't just be like, oh, I worked in here and we once had a snuff tape. You need to actually have something to indicate some, I guess, mystery element. Like a mystery, like the mystery element as it is, doesn't have that much precedence in the story, because it's like all about the blood, and then like evil Squidward, and fucking at the end, and he even set you up the story like I don't have answers, and I don't necessarily mind that approach to saying like, look, this is some weird shit that happened to me. I don't have an explanation of it. I just think it was interesting enough to tell other people about. Like I don't mind that approach for the telling the story, but I don't know. Like it feels like there's not much to the story in the way of substance if you take out the dumb, uh, uh, twisted perversion of the SpongeBob episode shit. Um, I would even say that it would benefit the story to just change the, I guess, the setup. Whereas instead of it being a Nickelodeon intern, maybe it's like what I proposed before, someone who like got a copy of SpongeBob from Blockbuster or some shit, and was going home to show it to the kids or watch it or whatever, and it turns out to be like a snuff tape, like that someone just sprinkled in. Like I don't know if that will necessarily be better. I I don't know. I just don't. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. The gratuitous violence of the children. I think what, like, because that doesn't have the punch that it should have, because it's so frequent that, and like it's not really like spaced out in a way that you have that hard moment, and then you kind of calm down, and then it de-escalates and you lull into a false insecurity, and then it hits you with another one, and it makes you like, and it brings you right back to that initial feeling of like shock from feeling it, like one after the other, and it's like one small paragraph in between child murder. Yeah, it's not good enough. And also the guy who apparently, a killer who, like, I guess artistic enough to take pictures of his victims and do it in sequential order to simulate movement. Like, the fucking flip book of him disemboweling a child. Like, I suppose that would be horrifying, but it's also tingles that little thing in the back of your head where you're constantly asking why. Your suspension of disbelief can only keep you invested for so long before you need to address it. You really need to. Berserk has children being killed, but only shows when it needs to. I'll watch Berserk at some point. It's been recommended to me by literally everyone I know. Literally everyone, even my mom who didn't watch anime, she recommended me. I swear she did. Who's laughing? I'm not funny. LOL. It's kill or be killed. Like, I think that's a funny thing. I think for the most part, people generally agree that this is not very good. Um, how would I rank this in terms of I guess classic stories? I think it. Well, let me put it like this. In regards to the Fish Gonna Stick suggested that the narrator should be a new writer. I'd add something. Sorry. I'd add on to it being the narrator should be a new writer. It added into being the new writer reading the disturbing scripts from his coworker and wondering what he got himself into. Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. I think it's decent enough to, I guess, still be on the page, to be on the wiki. If you're actually like saying if it deserves to, if it warrants its place in, I guess, creepypasta history, quote unquote. It's not like it's bad, but it's not overtly terrible to me. The hype again, a lot of the tropes that are associated with it now, I think, are victims of the time that it came out in. You know, victims of the time. Uh, yeah, it's like Halloween. Like, not, I'm not comparing it to Halloween in a positive sense. I mean, like how Halloween has a lot of moments that are associated with, like, oh, it's a very cliche horror film, even though it came out, it predated all the things I'm saying that it's ripping off. You know what I mean? It's not terrible. It's bad. I think that's fair to say. I would rank this below average. I can't. Yeah, I would rank it below average because, like, I can't give credit to something just because it conceptually had the potential to work. I think you give points when it had, like, I could give points for a good idea, but if that good idea is not completely followed up on, or you don't do anything with it, I can't, like, you don't get a participation ribbon. Is this worse than the stuff I've read before? I don't, I don't think so. It. What have I covered thus far? I forgot. I actually forgot. Okay. No One House. I remember liking that. Russian Sleep Experiment was kind of dull in some areas and was kind of a mess. And what did I? How did I forget? How do I not know my own videos? Okay, I'm gonna check right now. Oh yeah, Ash's Coma Theory. Yeah, no, no, not nearly as bad as Ash's Coma Theory. Honestly, the idea of a pretentious child killer is literally terrifying. Why are you guys reading the script? Are you trying to get the show canceled? And oh, Pokemon Dead Channel. Yes, this is better than Pokemon Dead Channel, unquestionably. Although, to be fair, I ragged pretty hard on Pokemon Dead Channel, but at the very least, that can be excused by saying that the person who wrote that was like 14 or whatever when that they did that. I don't think that gives it a pass, but at least, like, gives it some leeway. Oh, I forgot the fucking. Look at my things now. Yeah, Pokemon. Fucking that Wattpad Wednesday I did on that Baldi's Basics thing. I still feel sick thinking about it. So, what did you guys think about fucking Squidward suicide? You thought it was pretty groovy? You thought it was the bee's knees, the cat's pajamas, the real deal sex appeal, huh? Was the Alpha and the Amiga? Yes, this show needs to end. No one wants to work on it, but the studio wants to milk the franchise to death. I heard about it from a YouTube video that cut out all the sexual part, but was really disturbed. Are you talking about Ash's coma? Yeah. How Ash's in a coma. Also, first of all, it starts out by saying, uh, what's my opinion of Mr. Widemouth? Mr. Widemouth, I haven't read it in a while, but I remember it legitimately being one of my favorite story, like, creepypasta. Mr. Widemouth as a character made me, like, I genuinely, he's one of my favorites. And it wasn't just because I let go overt monster killer thing. It was because small things that he did made me, like, I think of him as almost like a three-dimensional kind of character. Like the first time he interacts with the narrator, he is like talking about Furbies or whatever, and he's not paying attention to the kid. He's paying attention to the book. This is a malicious killer who wants to kill this child, but he still has interest outside of killing the child. That's what like makes him a little bit more interesting than 90% of the creepypasta killers who just fucking I want to mutilate you and finger your booty or whatever, or whatever Jeff the Killer does nowadays. Oh yeah, let's get this. Forgot we got a story. This one's a little bit longer, I think, too. I don't. Let me be clear. I don't remember a goddamn thing about Smile Dog. By the way, I heard a list. Someone read it one time, and I didn't retain anything in regards to information about it. So I'm coming into this story with a completely fresh set of eyes. I guess. Yeah, I know that the character has become a little bit popular, and is, for some reason or another, when it comes to fan art and shit, is associated with Jeff the Killer and Jane the Killer. Although I would chalk that up into, you know, I guess fandom osmosis, where certain things that, since they're within the same, I guess, genre, certain things kind of melt together within the fandom. You know what I mean? Yeah, the smile. I know the Smile Dog photo, but that's all I know. I'd never actually read the story that is associated with though. Smile Dog's story consists of a classic horror setup. An amateur writer visits the house of a lady who supposedly has a story for which she can borrow from. Rather than speak, however, the lady has locked herself up in her room, crying and ranting about nightmares and visions and various other problems, all the center around a floppy disk that she had been given to contain an image of a smile JPEG, which is smile dog. Other cases of cropped up. Viewing this image incites insanity, and no copy of the exact image exists on the web, though though likeness is of a duo. The images of smile.jpg is recognized to the effect of its owner, to the effect it has on its owner. That is, they wind up dead. Attaching the file, that is, spreading the word, is the only way to save oneself from smile.dog that appears in one's dreams demanding to spread the word. Some say the original legend began with an image of the devil. Kooky. So let's get into it. So are you guys ready for Smile Dog? I won't start reading. I'll just sit here in silence until everyone gives me a heck yes. We'll just sit here in silence. I'll do some ASMR. You thought I was bluffing? You think I have anything better to do with my life but sit here and do nothing all day? You don't know me. You don't know what I'm about. You don't know about this life. I want to hear you guys raise heck. I want to hear you guys scream to the heavens. Tell your wife. Tell your children. Tell your parole officer that I'm a man to subscribe to. Arthur Fine, you fucker. I said heck yes. Sure doesn't count. I need to feel your enthusiasm. Put your hands to the screen and give me your energy. Okay, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'll read it anyway. That was my decision. As an adult, I make adult decisions. I'm making sense right now. As you can obviously tell, I'm quite sleepy, and I don't know why. I first met in person with Mary E. in the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terrence, to see her for an interview. Mary had initially agreed, since I was not a newsman, but rather an amateur writer, gathering information for an early college assignment, and if all went according to plan, some pieces of fiction. We scheduled for the interview for a particular weekend when I was in Chicago on unrelated business, but at the last moment Mary changed her mind and locked herself in a couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour I sat with Terrence as we camped outside the bedroom door. I listened, taking notes while he attempted to fruitlessly calm his wife. The things Mary said made little sense, but fit with the pattern I was expecting, though I could not see her, I could tell from her voice that she was crying, and more often than not, her objections to speaking with me centered around an incoherent diatribe on her dreams, her nightmares. Terence apologized profusely when he had ceased to exercise, and I did my best to take it in stride. I recalled that I wasn't a reporter in search of a story, but merely a curious young man in search of information. Besides, I thought at the time I could perhaps find another similar case if I put my mind and resources to it. Real quick, I just want to. I don't know if it's too early to make a judgment on this. Um, this reminded me of I Believe in Santa Christ from that guy with the glasses movie. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, also a hilarious joke that went on for like 5 minutes. I can't remember. I listened to Mr. Whitemouth while I was in line to watch Avengers Endgame. That movie disappointed me. I'm sorry. I'll say it. You guys like Fat Thor? Wasn't Fat Thor hilarious? He's talking about Fortnite, guys. He was screaming at some kid on the Xbox machine. That was the best. Best movie. I didn't hate it. It's just... God. Like, I actually genuinely loved Infinity War. Like, I was surprised at how much I liked that film. And it was a film that didn't feel its length, despite being, like, I think 2 hours and 30 minutes long. And we watched, like, Endgame, and we were pumped for it. And there was a lot that kind of... It felt its length. I'll just say that. Like, with Infinity War, it's like there were moments where I was always interested in what another character was doing. Like, whenever they cut away from an interesting story, I never thought, like, oh, man, we need to get back to Black Panther. No, I cared about what Black Panther was doing. But, in Endgame, there'll be one segment that I'm interested in, and then we go to fucking Thor and Rocket Raccoon, and I don't care. Would you be fine to tell me how the BBS system works when you open images? My knowledge, a few snippets of, what? BBS. I have no idea what you're saying to me. I like the last fight scene. I don't know. I also don't like the fact, like, I heard about it, like, oh, it's not our Thanos, it's a different Thanos, and I thought, like, oh, I probably won't care when I go into it. And then I did end up caring, and it kind of felt a little bit hollow. Because, like, we're not fighting the guy who caused the beginning of the movie, I loved it to death. Like, when the world's kind of trying to pick up the pieces of where it left off from the last film, and everything's kind of somber, and people are trying their absolute hardest to make do with what they got. Like, I thought that was great, and then Professor Hulk comes by and he dabs for his fans, and you love how that good setup from the last film, and you were expecting it to have a satisfying payoff in the next one, and there's it's Professor Hulk now. Sorry, guys. I don't know what you're talking about, Arthur Fine. Could you explain? What about BBS? Okay, what was I saying? I think I was gonna like. I think it's I don't know. I know what I know. I haven't said my criticism, but I can reserve it until like near the end. Mary E was sysop for a Mary E was the sysop for a small Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1992, where she first encountered Smile.jpg, and her life was changed forever. She and Terrence had been married for only 5 months. Mary was one of an estimated 400 people who saw the image, when it was posted as a hyperlink on the BBS. Oh, that's I. I probably would have known if you actually fucking if I actually kept writing. I'm sorry. Reading, right? I wrote the story, by the way. Um, I don't know what that means, honestly. I'm not savvy when it comes to technology. I barely know how to fucking make these streams. I remember how impressed I was. Like, hey, I got the stream will start soon. I got the text thing. I know how to make it move. I'm almost like an official streamer, guys. Even though she is the only one who has spoken openly about the experience, the rest of them remain anonymous or are perhaps dead. In 2005, I was only in 10th grade. Smile.jpg was first brought to my attention by my burgeoning interest in web-based phenomena. Mary was the most often cited victim of what is sometimes referred to as smile.dog, the being smile.jpg is reputed to display. What caught my interest, other than the obvious macabre events of the cyber legend and my proclivity towards such things, was a sheer lack of information. And usually to the point that people don't even believe it even exists, other than as a humor or hoax. It is unique because though the entire phenomenon centers on a picture file, that file is nowhere to be found on the internet. Certainly most photo manipulated simulacra litter the web, showing up with the most frequency on sites such as the image board, 4chan, or particularly on the X-focused paranormal subboard. I'm sorry, I'm just stuttering over myself. I heard people didn't like Xanos being more sympathetic, and he was just better being full on evil. I wholeheartedly disagree. I don't even know if sympathetic is the word. He's just a three-dimensional character. Like he's someone. He's an ideologue. He believes in he actually believes in his cause. Like if Thanos were to go and purge your town and tells you that it's nothing personal, he's the kind of guy where you would believe that he means it, but that doesn't change the fact that he's a horrible person. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like the fact that Xanos was just a kind of like a not mustache twirling villain, but it makes sense within the story for the character to regress and be a little bit more openly malicious because of the younger, your relatively less experienced Thanos, who I guess would be more rough around the edges. But I don't know, it's not even that his characterization I didn't like. It's the fact that we're fighting the one who isn't directly responsible for the horrible thing that was unleashed upon the world in the last film. I mean, technically you are, but it's not quite the same. This is unique because you just smile, dog. That's where was I? It was unique. Some Akira X-Base paranormal subboard. It's suspected that these are fake because they do not have the effect that a true smile.jpg is believed to have, namely sudden onset temporal lobe epilepsy and acute anxiety. This purported reaction in the viewer is one of the reasons that Phantom-like smile.jpg is regarded with such disdain, since it's patently absurd, though depending on whom you ask, the reluctance to acknowledge the smile.jpg's existence might be just as much out of fear as it is out of disbelief. This is a surprisingly verbose story. I don't dislike it, but it's making me feel dumb because I keep stuttering over myself. Yeah, I remember that. Thanos. I'm kind of hit and miss when it comes. I guess hit and miss. I'm kind of on the fence how I feel about people changing something from the source material, But I like the reinterpretation of Xanos in the Infinity War film. Yeah, in his fucking comics, Thanos is just straight up simping for death. And I remember, like, isn't it like some kind of weird love triangle between uh, Thanos and Deathstroke? Not Deathstroke, Deadpool. Neither smile.jpg, neither smile.jpg nor smile.dog is mentioned anywhere on Wikipedia, though the website features articles on other such, perhaps more scandalous sites such as hello.jpg or Two Girls in One Cup. Any attempt to create a page on pertaining to smile.jpg is similarly deleted by any of the encyclopedia's many admins. Encounters with smile.jpg were stuff of internet legend, where each story is not unique. There are unverified rumors of smile.jpg showing up in the early days of Usenet, and even one persistent tale that in 2002 a hacker flooded forums of humor and satire website Something Awful with a deluge of smile.jpg pictures, rendering almost half of the forum's users at the time epileptic. It is also said that in the mid to late 90s that smile.jpg circulated on Usenet and as an attachment of a chain email with the subject line, "Smile, God loves you." Despite the huge exposure these stunts would generate, and very few people who would admit to having experienced any of them, with no trace of the file or any link that has been discovered. Those who claim to have seen smile.jpg often weakly joke they were far too busy to save a copy of the picture on their hard drive. However, all alleged victims offer the same description of the photo. A dog-like creature, usually described as appearing similar to a Siberian husky, emulated by the flash of a camera, sits in a dim room, and the only background details that are visible is a human hand extending from the darkness near the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described as beckoning. Of course, most attention is given to the dog or dog creature, as some victims are more certain than others about what they claim to have seen. The muzzle of the beast is reputed to split into a wide grin, revealing two rows of very white, very straight, very sharp, very human-like teeth. Okay. Oh, sorry. Hold on. I need to show this. I've already got over one. I should have edited this for my fucking thumbnail. This is what shit reminds me. This is the horror of Smile Dog, that fucking doggy dentures commercial. This reminded me of that. Man, I should have used that. What did I use? I used Scooby Doo. While we're thinking about it, god damn. I mean, I guess this does look kind of like human teeth in a dog's mouth. Do kind of look creepy. I'm sorry. We're done with you, Squidward. I don't want Squidward in my life anymore. I'm sick of that motherfucker. Of course, this is not a description of this. Of course, is not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims who claim to have seen the picture endlessly repeated in their mind's eye during a time they were in reality having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue indeterminately, often while the victims sleep, resulting in very vivid and disturbing nightmares. These may be treated with medication, though in some of this, is that a word? It is. What does it mean? Is it? Like, why did I get medical dictionary? Okay, I think it's a typo. First, I was actually impressed. Like, man, this story's word choice is just leaving me in the dust. I think it's supposed to be some instances. Though in some instances it is more effective than others. Mary E., I assumed, was not on effective medication. That is why, after my visit to her apartment in 2007, I sent out feelers to several what I sent out feelers to several folklore and urban legend-oriented news groups, websites, and mailing lists, hoping to find the name of the supposed victim of Smile.jpg, who felt more interested in talking about his experiences. For a time, nothing happened, and at length I completely forgot about my pursuits, since I had begun my freshman year of college and was quite busy. Mary contacted me by email, however, in the beginning of March 2008. To Jim N-word at Jim at nword.com from Mary at e at sword.net. Subject: last summer's interview. Mr. L. Ooh. I am incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope that you can understand that it was no fault of yours, but rather my own problems that led me to act out as I did. I realized that I could have handled the situation more decorously. Okay, like, who talks like this? Like, I mean, again, like, this is a welcome breath of fresh air in regard, like, comparison to a fair amount of the other stories I've read, but I have never, in my entire life, not once heard someone in in a casual conversation use the term decorously. Or decorously. I think it's decorously. Hold on. How do you even pronounce it? Decorous? Bottom line is I've never heard anyone say that. Like, I don't know. There's a kind of nuance, I think, to actually writing out like spoken word and dialogue when it comes to characters, and it's something that I think doesn't get acknowledged enough. Question: is Petscope technically a creepypasta? I don't think so. No, it's a web series. I don't know, because what constitutes a creepypasta in and of its no, creepypasta I think has been relatively well defined, like relatively short horror stories on the internet. And the term is like you know, a play on copy and paste. However, forgive me. At the time, I was afraid. You see, for 15 years, I've been haunted by Smile.jpg. Smile.dog comes to me in my. It's not the story's fault. It's my fault, because when I hear something like that, I just imagine my mind immediately inserts Sonic.exe keeps coming to me in my every night. Oh god. Smile.dog comes to me in my sleep every night. I know it sounds silly, but it is true. There is an ineffable Fuck off! There's an ineffable quality about my dreams and my nightmares that makes them seem completely unlike any real dreams I've ever had. I do not move and I do not speak. I simply look ahead, and the only thing ahead of me is a scene from that horrible picture. I see its beckoning hand, and I see Smile that dog. It talks to me. It is not a dog, of course, though I am not quite sure what it really is. It tells me that it will leave me alone if only I do what it asks. I must do as it says. All I must do as it says is spread the word. That's how it phrases its demands. And I know exactly what it means. It wants me to show it to someone else. And I could. The week after my incident, I received a mail in Manila envelope with no return address. Inside was a 3.5-inch floppy diskette. I'm dumb. Isn't Ben drowned an ARG? Look, I don't understand. Stop asking me questions. I don't know. Why are you asking me? Do I sound like someone who has the answers? I'm dumb. I may not be stupid. I am very much dumb. Without having to check, I knew precisely what was on it. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a coworker. I could even show it to Terrence, as much as the idea disgusts me. And what would happen then? Well, if Smile Dog kept his word, could sleep. And lie, what would I do? And who was to say that something worse would not come for me if I did what the creature has? So I did nothing for 15 years, and I kept the diskette hidden among my many things. I don't know where I got the word many. Every night for 15 years, Smile Dog has come to me in my sleep and demanded that I spread the word. For 15 years, I have stood strong, though there have been hard times. Many of my fellow victims on the BBS board, where I encountered the Smile.jpg, stopped posting. I heard some of them committed suicide. Others remained completely silent, simply disappearing off the face of the web. They were the ones I worry about the most. I sincerely hope you will forgive me, Mr. L. But last summer, when you contacted me and my husband about an interview, I was near the breaking point. I decided I was going to give you the floppy diskette. I did not care if Smile.dog was lying or not. I wanted to end. You were a stranger, someone I had no connection with, and I thought I would not feel sorrow when you took the diskette as part of your research and sealed your fate. Before you arrived, I realized what I was doing. Plotting to ruin your life. Haven't missed much. Well, we read Squidward Suicide, and that was pretty fun. Yeah, I came to the conclusion that it was bad, but not as terrible as people made it out to be. I made some suggestions. Now we're reading Smile Dog, and Smile Dog is keeping my interest. I haven't had really much to say about it. Let's see. I am ashamed, Mr. L. And I hope that this warning. So, I could not stand the thought, and in fact, I still cannot. I am ashamed, Mr. L. And I hope that this warning will dissuade you from further investigation of Smile.jpg. You may in time encounter someone who is, if not weaker than I, then wholly depraved, someone who will not hesitate to follow Smile.dog's orders. Stop while you are still whole. Sincerely, Mary E. I was about to read that as Mr. E for some reason. My brain thinks in puns. Also, people have disappeared from the internet for a multitude of reasons. They finally got a life. Who spends all their time on the internet? Get laid, losers. Incel losers. Terrence contacted me that month with the news that his wife had killed herself. Whoa. I thought we went past the suicide. We're done reading Squidward Suicide. What the fuck? While cleaning up the various things she left behind, closing email accounts and the like, he had gone upon the above. He had opened. Excuse me. He happened upon the above message. He was a man in shambles. He wept as he told me that he listened to his wife's advice. He found a diskette. He'd found a diskette, he revealed, and burned it until there was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. The part that most disturbed him, however, was how the diskette had hissed as it melted, like some sort of animal, he said. I will admit I was a little uncertain about how to respond to this. I had to stop because the fucking the caretaker music actually kind of creeped me out a bit. I love the caretaker. The couple belates. Jesus Christ. I admit I was a little uncertain how to respond to this. At first, I thought it was a joke. The couple belatedly playing the situation in order to get a rise out of me. A quick check of the several Chicago newspaper online obituaries, however, proved that Mary E. was indeed dead. There was, however, no mention of suicide in the article. I decided for the time at least I would not pursue the subject of Smile.jpg, but eventually since I had finals upcoming up in May. But the world has an odd way of testing us. Almost a year after I returned from my disastrous review of Mary E., I received another email. To JML from Elzar. Subject smile. Hello. I found your email address through a mailing list, and your profile said you were interested in Smile Dog. I have saw it. It is not as bad as everyone says. I have sent you here, just spreading the word. That's actually kind of creepy. I'm actually giving kudos to the story. Like that would be genuinely creepy. Out of nowhere to receive this after, like, we just read someone like killing themselves after being exposed to it, and then we just see this. Like, I think what makes it more effective is the fact that everything up to this point had been kind of like eloquently spelled out and kind of verbose, and the choice in language has been, I guess, has been kind of clear and concise, but at the same time, very very well articulated. And then you get this email that's kind of like janky and kind of I guess realistic, when you get an email, and it kind of sets in the mindset that whoever posted this is trying their best to come off as unassuming, but you get the feeling that something ain't right. I like that. That's Zell from Death Note. I don't know anything about Death Note. I don't watch anime. Anime's for nerds and virgins and incels and all those things. I have never watched anime in my life, and if you find that any video of me talking about anime, then that's not, it's never happened. I'll deny it, basically. The final line chilled me to the bone. According to my email client, there was one file attached called, naturally, smile.jpg. I considered downloading it for a time. It was most likely a fake, I imagine. And even if it weren't, I was never wholly convinced of smile.jpg's peculiar powers. Mary E's account is shaking me, yes, but she's probably mentally unbalanced anyway. After all, how could a simple image do what smile.jpg was said to accomplish? What sort of creature was it that could break one's mind with purely the power of the eye? If such things were, and if such things were patently absurd, then why did the legend exist at all? It kind of reads a scam email. Yeah, it actually reads like an email that you would actually get. That's what makes it really work. And if I downloaded the image, if I looked at it, if Mary turned out to be correct, if Smile Dog came to me in my dreams, demanding if I spread the word, what would I do? Would I live my life as Mary had, fighting against the urge to give in until I died? Or would I simply spread the word, eager to put it to rest? And if I chose the latter route, how would I do it? Whom would I burden in turn? If I went through my earlier intention to write a short article about smile.jpg, I decided I could attach it as evidence. And anyone who read the article, anyone who took interest would be affected. And even assuming that smile.jpg attached to the email was genuine, would I be capricious enough to save myself in that manner? Could I spread the word? Yes. Yes, I could. Oh my goodness. You spooky. I like that ending. I really do. It kind of comes off a little bit like in a humorous tone. But it's I think it was a solid setup to a decent stinger. Yeah, I'm surprised at how much I enjoyed that story. Uh, if I had any real complaints, or I would say that I kind of wish that we had a little bit more setup to the first interview, or actually had the bits of the interview maybe even written out for us, with him interacting with Mary E. and talking to them. Like I kind of want to know what they were like prior to the Smile Dog incident, and seeing how it really affected her. Like it's one of those things where it's like told and not shown, and I think it would have actually been a little bit more effective to understand the effects that it really has on people psychologically if it wasn't just outright told that, you know, like, oh, for 15 years she's been like, it's been fucking with her head. Uh, Again, the kind of verbose language that Mary implied, I guess, it was another thing that kind of, I guess, took issue with. Although I can't tell how much of that is me taking issue with the story and how it's written, or my subconscious, the bruising of my ego. You know what I mean? Like me stuttering over myself, trying to read these words that I don't normally use in my day-to-day life. So, but besides that, I actually really enjoyed the story. Um, well, I made Legit the Killer, except with a little red filter on it, so this one is pretty restrained. Yeah, I actually like how there's nothing like, besides the teeth. You take away the teeth, and it's just a dog sitting in the room. And what I also, is this the original? It doesn't, I don't see a hand, so I don't think so. Oh, I think this is probably a joke where people like, putting the pictures up and saying like, "Oh, is this the original?" Like, you know, I'm not touching you, kind of thing. Um, yeah, I really like this. What was I saying? It's kind of weird. Yeah, take away the teeth, it's like it just looks like a regular, like, yeah, it's just a regular Siberian Husky, and it's kind of, well, it's a, I guess, relatively, I don't know, that frightening is a. Wait a minute. Did that person just take one of these pictures and just like put some filters on it? Who would do such a thing? Hold on. Who would who would do such a thing? No, that's the wrong button. That was the death vortex button. Oh no. Part of me wants to redraw Smile Dog as a creepy dog, but motivation is poop. Oh yeah, yeah. Like I was saying, the one thing I kind of like about the image itself is that it's, I guess, on the surface, it's like slightly unnerving, but it's unassuming enough to where your mind would not connect the dots as to the malicious intent associated with the picture. In fact, the first thing it said, like, oh, it's a smiling, it's a smile.jpg. It's just a weird dog. Like, you know, where the fuck did this dog come from? You know what I mean? And then the next thing you know, you're having a seizure, and you're having nightmares. This is this is a definite step up from a lot of what I've covered so far. Uh, I was actually coming into this kind of expecting the worst, believe it or not. Like, I say that based on nothing more than the fact that since it's associated with like the kind of cabal of creepypasta related shit in the kind of fandom, um, it makes me like immediately assume like, oh, it must not be very good, and that really sucks. And that's a mindset that I think people have kind of come to adapt when it comes to fandom osmosis, as I called it. Let me show you. Smile dog. Smile dot god. Okay, yeah. Hold on. It should be coming up. What the fuck is this? Smile dog, draw my light. Yeah, right. Shit like this. Shit like this is why I don't consider myself a part of the creepypasta fandom. Yeah, yeah, I remember. Yeah, oh yeah, here it is. I think this is the one that people were talking about. The stupid fucking edit that made the smile dog thing look like cringeworthy as hell, where it basically made it into red faced Jeff the Killer. The Jeff the Killer's persona, basically. You know what? I'm so upset. I might put the Death Vortex back up, but I won't. me see. That it usually comes up. I wasn't blowing hot air. Where is it? It's gotta be one. I don't want to look up it with Jeff the Killer. That's cheating. Huh. Is Smile Dog not popular enough to... Or then again, Smile Dog... Okay, Smile Dog... Creepypasta. How about... No. And right there, Smile Dog cute. That bothers me. I don't know, like, I can't really be too overt, like, upset about it because I think that's a symptom of, like, horror in general. When you we'll boil it down, you have like a franchise or like a horror series that for whatever reason it takes off and people are frightened or scared of it and think it's scary, and then it gets watered down and it just becomes like some homogenous thing that no longer resembles what initially made it popular. Yeah, like I said, associated with like the well, look, there's Brother. And there's Jeffy and Weffy and Sephiroth right there. That's Sephiroth. There we go. Jeff the Killer and his metal shirt and Smile Dog. Whoa, God, I love it. I love... Like, I think it makes me even more upset now that I've read it and I've determined that, oh, wow, this is actually surprisingly good. Oh, fuck off, man. Man, I don't want it to give too much shit. Like, I don't want to give shit to people who, like, do this for fun. It's a hobby, but I don't like watching good things get tarnished by being affiliated with this trash. It's babushka. Why did I say this old peasant woman? Death the Killer, Creepypasta, Smile Dog. Oh, memes.com. Suicide and SpongeBob isn't too crazy. Remember they put the supply sexual... yeah, I remember. Let's see. Any more? Oh, God. Why is Mr. Bear here? 1999. Hey, it's Doug. A creepypuppy.avi. Was that is that the from Black Skinhead video by Kanye West? I can't tell which came first. Oh, no. Oh. That actually kind of caught me off guard just a little bit. That's pretty spooky, actually. Who made this? And you had me, then you lost me. Okay, we have gotten way off topic. So, what did you guys think of Smile Dog? I quite enjoyed it. I was surprised at its quality, and honestly, from what I've read, I'm surprised that I don't hear people speak about it more fondly. It is a surprisingly good story with a decent payoff at the end. I think that it could have been a little bit, again, like if I had any real complaints or even suggestions, I think that the beginning portion should have been added to a little bit more to kind of set up a sense of normalcy prior to the weird supernatural shenanigans that we find ourselves in later on. I am also going to tell you, Smile Dog, I'm 13 years old, 4 is in 2000. Okay. I'm on. What the fuck? I don't know if that's true. I don't know where. What part of the internet am I on? Okay, this. The caretaker music is actually kind of creeping me the fuck out now. I don't even know if it's like can be heard, but it's just like freaking me the fuck out. Okay. Surprisingly good. I might actually like this image a little bit more than the popular one. Although it doesn't quite work. It's on Siberian Husky. Yeah, this looks. Where did they get this? This looks really cool. Is there a source for this? Can I do a image search? No. The fuck? Oh no. Damn. I really want to know who made this. This looks really nice. So yeah, I get like I'm just belaboring this. This is a really good story. My verdict is that Squidward's suicide is bad, but not overtly terrible. It focuses too much on the weird supernatural shit. It raises more questions than it really has any business doing. And not in the sense that you're eager to find out the answers, you know what I mean? Like you're asking questions of logic rather than questions of where the narrative is going to take you and how to resolve the conflict in your mind. And you take away the stupid uh, fan fiction that the serial killer made and put into the episode, then you actually have the potential for a decent story. I can't see a decent story, but the potential for one, the skeleton of a decent story. And you have Smile Dog right here, which is a surprisingly solid, short little horror story. That having read this, I am genuinely surprised hasn't gotten more love from the creepypasta community. Like, line this up to shit like this blows the fuck out of Russian Sleep Experiment. I'll say it right now. Like I don't hate Russian Sleep Experiment, but that story had so many like falling points and shortcomings that it doesn't at all match up. It doesn't like line up. It's not even the same category as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, so I had a good time. This was fun. This will probably be the shortest stream I've done in relation to covering two stories at once. I thought it would be longer, but because these stories are pretty lengthy, I guess. But I hope you all had a good time, and I'm gonna see right now if we can find something to read for next week or the week after next week, depending on my mood. Because I'm sleepy as hell. I've been stuttering over myself. The big head O. I saw the big O and I thought like, oh, a big O creepypasta. Well, I'm gonna read Dogscape twice. I'm thinking about covering Ben Drown. It's just so long though. Peripheral vision. Girl on the train, girl on the photograph, the GIF. Well, fuck it. Well, let's before we end the stream, let's read this. On March 12th, 2008, on the B-board of 4chan, an anonymous user posted GIF. This is a really good segue from fucking Smile Dog, another story that was about like a haunted image. At first glance, the GIF wasn't animated. What? At first glance, strangely, the GIF wasn't animated. As, yeah, I think I'm pronouncing it right, GIF. Why not Luigi is dead theory? I'm going based on popular stories too, mister. So if I look it up and it's not popular, you're going to have some explaining to do. Oh, no. I don't share. Oh, fuck it. Luigi. Let's see if there's anything. Oh, fucking... Mutahar, you fucker, stop writing stories. What the fuck? Okay. I'm gonna go back to here and read this, finish this. I feel different. It was entitled I'm Happy GIF, and it showed what appeared to be a drawing of a smiley face only with realistic looking eyes and mouth. The people clicked on it and saw the smiley face slowly turn to a frown, and the eyes taking on an angrier appearance. The smiley face would scream loudly, loud enough to burst the eardrums, and aggressive images of rape, bomb test victims, aborted fetuses, mutilated bodies, and animals being tortured would flash by quickly. After about 5 minutes, it will show the text, "Have a nice day, sick." And the user's computer would automatically close, the image would stop working, as if a virus had corrupted the hard drive. People whose computers were infected would shortly be found in their homes, skinned and mutilated, with a smiley face painted in blood on the door next to the corpse. The founder of 4chan, Moot, will always claim that the picture never existed and the murders were unrelated. However, that's a pretty abstract... You can't... How can you deny that? Like, how can you really even fucking deny that, oh, these are unrelated? By the way, all these murders had, like, a fucking smiley face painted on the fucking door next to the bodies. Unrelated, though. Like, it's complete happenstance that the smiley face killer happens to kill people from different countries and different states. However, it's like a fucking Detective Green from Sonic.exe was on the case that day. However, somewhere in the archives, the picture still exists. Most people attempt to post are usually swiftly banned by Moot. Yeah, this is considered like classic. Oh, I feel good. I feel good about my life right now, don't you? Or is it? Luigi fan stories that'll make your mustache curl. Okay, fuck you. So I think I'm done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I don't know, like I guess apostrophe music. Once the video is posted, you can tell me where to find the. I don't know if YouTube will let you post a GIF, not GIF, a link, but you can post a, thing telling me like where exactly to find it. So yeah, that's enough of that. I will see you guys another time, and I'll find something for us to cover next week. Next week, I'll be getting Mutahar from Some Ordinary Gamers. Don't hold me to that because I've never talked to him, and I don't know him personally, and I'm pretty sure I don't have his contact information, but it's definitely gonna happen. He'll be my new best friend. You can bank on that. Yeah, see you guys later. Take it easy and have a good night. Stay safe, and remember to wash your hands before you eat every meal. And spread the... Oh, wait, hold on before we go. I'll show it one more time to make sure I'm absolutely safe. Gotta cover all my boundaries here. Spread the word, everybody. Spread the word.